Okay, we'll start with this. On May 7th this year, the newly crowned WBO Super Bantamweight Champion of France, Sigolene Lefebvre, will be returning to action in what will be her first defense of that newly obtained WBO title against an opponent that is yet to be announced. We don't know who she's going to be fighting, though.
Sigolene's got the WBO.
Mexico's own Jamie Mercado has the WBC. Mayerlin Rivas of Venezuela, she's got the WBA.
Very soon, New Zealand's own Sugar Neeks.
In April, Sugar Neeks is going to be taking on Mexico's own Melissa Esquivel for what is the newly vacated IBF title, Daniela Bermudez's old belt.
We're seeing a lot of movement at 122 pounds.
In April, Johnson versus Esquivel will go down for what is the IBF title. In May, Sigolene Lefebvre of France, she's going to be defending her newly obtained WBO title.
I can only imagine that the other two champions at this weight plan on fighting at some point this year.
As the landscape at 122 pounds is changing. Before any of that comes to pass, the fight in April, the fight in May.
This month, Ellie Scottney's returning to action.
In about 2 weeks' time, this month, Ellie Scottney is going to be returning to action against former champion of Argentina, Jorgelina Guanini, for what is a regional WBA title. And what that effectively communicates is that Ellie Scottney is going the WBA route.
She may be trying to get a shot at the full WBA title.
That's quite a step up in competition for her. Ellie Scottney, who sports a professional record of only 3 wins, no losses, no draws, to face an experienced former champion, a veteran.
You've got Scottney versus Guanini this month.
You've got Shernika Johnson versus Melissa Esquivel for the vacant IBF title in April, and you have
Sigolene Lefebvre is going to be making her first title defense in May
against an opponent that has yet to be announced. Things are moving and shaking at 122 pounds, and anybody with a belt or aspiring to win one has got to stay sharp. You want to keep your eyes on this weight class because it's a nose hair away from bantamweight. Bantamweight, where Ebony Bridges, Shannon Courtenay, Jamie Mitchell, Campaign, Shotgun Shannon O'Connell, many others, champions. These are divisions where, you know what, if there aren't opportunities at 118, you can move right up to 122 pounds. There are fights to be made, and fights are happening. The landscape at 122 pounds, it is changing.
Essentially what happened with Shernika Johnson.
She suffered her first professional loss last year at bantamweight to Shannon O'Connell. An opportunity to fight for a title presented itself at 122 pounds, and that's what she's going to be doing. She's moving up, and let's see if she can't win that blue belt. I think she can. This is a talent-rich division that does not yet get the attention that the bantamweight division does. The super bantamweight division is just as talent-rich, and this year, I think there's going to be a spotlight. I think there's going to be more of a focus on 122 pounds. I'm looking forward to the next couple of months. In other news, former unified lightweight champion Teofimo Lopez posted this to his Instagram stories, caption that reads, "My parents are my burden. I understand you now, Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace."
Very cryptic.
Very dark. It's not a secret that Teofimo Lopez's home life is less than harmonious. Another caption reads, "People lying, saying I beat up my baby mama. I'm gonna get my hitters on you lying motherfuckers too. For real, for real."
You know, there's all this talk about Teofimo moving up to 140.
Potentially taking on Arnold Barboza when he gets there, and you know, there are a lot of red flags here.
There are.
He posted another caption that reads, "I have a son, and I can't even be around him because of his bitch-ass mother." Yeah, I said it.
For those that don't know, Teofimo Lopez has already gotten a divorce from his very young wife.
Seems almost like the marriage ended before it started, and that's unfortunate. He also tweeted, "Career is going great, but the rest of me is falling slowly." Not encouraging at all.
Teofimo's home life issues are in fact very public.
Couple that with a crushing upset loss to George Kambosos Jr., where he lost everything he gained from the Vasyl Lomachenko fight, and it's clear to see that Teofimo's having a rough time. Kid's having a rough year. To that, former WBO champion Jamel Herring stated, "Praying for my guy Teofimo Lopez. I don't know what you're going through, brother, but if you need someone to talk to, I'm here." We talked about that entire situation between Teofimo Lopez, his management, Top Rank, and Triller, that entire fiasco that didn't end well for young Teofimo, and I warned that too much of his team's time was going into trying to get an improved purse for what was a run-of-the-mill IBF mandatory title defense, and it's not...
Listen, I said from the very beginning it wasn't a good idea.
And whilst time has proven me right, I'm not without compassion for young Teofimo Lopez, who is going through a lot right now. He is. I mean, he's got a son he doesn't get to be around because of the issues with the mother of his children. He suffered a crushing defeat, an unexpected defeat. I mean, let's be honest. The odds makers, the bookies, they didn't favor George to win that fight. Could you imagine dealing with this much? A divorce and a career defeat at Teofimo Lopez's age. This guy's still very young. There's a lot on his plate, and I'm not heartless. At some point...
Why don't you give the kid a break, all right?
You know what I think? I think Teofimo Lopez should stay away from social media for a while because there are too many guys, too many girls, too many trolls willing to take cheap shots at this kid, and he don't need that right now. I'll go as far as saying that maybe he needs to spend a little bit more time away from boxing just for a little while. He can still come back this year, but sort out whatever needs sorting out to get him in the right headspace to return, because I think he can return, but he needs to be in the right headspace to do it. He's dealing with a lot right now.
And after a while, taking cheap shots at this kid becomes cruel.
Just giving it to you straight, because it's the only way I know how to give it to you. I told you from the very beginning, I told you, pursuing an improved purse and given the amount of time that was consuming, it was a bad idea for Teofimo, and, it didn't work out. It didn't go his way. But that's over and done with.
The past is the past, and you can't change it.
You can't. I think that getting back in the winner's bracket would do Teofimo Lopez a lot of good. I think that would be very good for him. However, it takes for him to be in a certain headspace to get back in the winner's bracket, and I'm not sure that he's there given the cryptic captions and tweets he's leaving via social media. These are red flags of somebody who's not all right, somebody who might need
It's a cry for help.
There's no shame in needing help because no man is an island. Teofimo Lopez can rebuild so long as he has the right people around him with his best interests in mind as opposed to their own. And I think that's a big part of the problem. I think that there is...
Whatever he does now, he's got to do it for himself and his offspring.
Never mind the short-sighted critics or the fickle fight fans that are waiting to take cheap shots at this kid as soon as he falters. What he does now, he must do with a sense of purpose.
I'd like to see him take a break from boxing.
A small one. Just long enough that he can try to sort some things out, get some stability in his life, and get in the right headspace, because he needs to be in the right headspace to come back the right way. He shouldn't rush back to the ring.
I don't want to see him do that, and then he loses to somebody like Barboza.
What will that do to his psyche? I want to see him come back, but I want to see him come back the right way. In other news, per tweet from Michael Benson, Eddie Hearn has revealed that he's had talks with Terence Crawford's reps about potentially working with him. However, he added, I'm interested because he's a great fighter, but I think we will struggle to deliver the numbers he would want. And this accents what I've been telling you guys all along. Bob Arum, Eddie Hearn, or otherwise, Terence Crawford's situation at welterweight would have been exactly the same whether it was Eddie Hearn promoting him or Bob Arum, who he's taking to court. We know that Terence Crawford's not happy with how things have worked out. We know that he's suing Top Rank for a breach of contract and
An alleged racial bias that affected how he was being promoted.
That's what the court documents state. But in truth, Terence Crawford's situation has less to do with Eddie Hearn, less to do with Bob Arum and racial biases, and more to do with the outfit that froze him out. That froze him out for the last 3 or 4 years.
We've been all through this. We really have.
So now, you're taking Bob Arum and Top Rank to court. That's a bridge burned, a bridge you can no longer cross. And before it came to this, to where Terence Crawford was filing suit against Bob Arum, against Top Rank, Bob Arum was talking about doing a
Taylor fight.
Josh Taylor fight for Terence Crawford, a potential Josh Taylor fight, a fight that he made some rather exaggerated claims about as far as the commercial success of such a fight in the United Kingdom. Better still, Bob Arum, in spite of
whatever money he lost putting on Terence Crawford's fights, he was still willing to work with him.
Even if he wasn't under contract with Top Rank, even if he wasn't under contract with ESPN, that fight was still a possibility, because the day that Josh Taylor ascends to the welterweight division, if something doesn't change, he's going to find himself in the exact same situation as Terence Crawford. But here today, Terence Crawford still is a welterweight champion. He still is in possession of the WBO title. Thus, for Josh Taylor, Terence Crawford would be a person of interest, a feasible fight that could be made, so long as everybody's on amicable terms. Well, that's not the case anymore, because Terence Crawford, he burned that bridge. And I don't know what he's going to do now. I don't know who he's going to fight. I've heard nothing about the PBC making him an offer to bring him over to their side of things so that he can work with them moving forward.
This is going to sound strange, but right about now, that would be his best option.
And the PBC's best option as well. You heard that right. I've no confidence in what's left of Errol Spence Jr. I know with no certainty, no certitude, that he's going to make it past Yordenis Ugas, and even if he does, what kind of longevity does his career have left? Whereas if you bring over Terence Crawford, you strike some kind of a deal.
You know, if Spence loses to Ugas, Ugas doesn't suddenly become a big marquee attraction.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I mean, that's really not the way this works. Whatever fanfare Spence amassed throughout his career, it doesn't just transfer over to Yordenis Ugas. It doesn't work that way. He will not be the same marquee fighter that they tried to build Errol Spence into. Now, with Terence Crawford, you got a better shot if you bring him over. See, I'm not just talking about what might benefit Crawford at this point. I'm also talking about what might benefit the PBC, because you got Danny Garcia, who nobody gives a fuck about.
You know, he's talking about having a rematch with Keith Thurman.
He says it's something that the fans want to see. What fans? Who's asking for that fight? The ones that were complaining after the Feist one?
Those fans.
Ones who were disappointed that the actual fight all those years ago didn't live up to their expectations. You got Keith Thurman fighting in this pay-per-view against Mario Barrios this weekend, and what are the numbers for that gonna look like?
Manny Pacquiao's now retired.
So has Sean Porter. In April, you've got the Spence versus Ugas pay-per-view, the Spence versus Ugas unification match coming up. But what if Errol Spence don't make it through that?
You think Ugas is going to have the same appeal that Spence had?
He won't. I can tell you that. Now listen, it's not as simple as saying this is what's best for Terence Crawford. This is also what's best for the PBC, because what they've got is a stable of inactive, injury-prone welterweights that ain't getting any younger.
Yeah, most of these guys are 30 plus.
Danny Garcia hasn't fought in a year. Errol Spence Jr. hasn't fought in a year.
1 year.
Before this weekend, Keith Thurman will not have fought in 2 years.
Sean is gone, and so is Manny.
I didn't anticipate that Terence Crawford was going to burn that bridge with Top Rank. We all knew that his contract was about to be up, and we all knew there was a chance that Top Rank would decide not to renew. Moreover, we knew that Terence Crawford might feel the same way. We knew that, but I didn't figure that he was going to sue them. I didn't figure that he was going to actually burn that bridge. And because he's burned that bridge, the PBC would be his best option, and the same applies to them. Terence Crawford would be their best option. Because look at their welterweight stable. Look at the state of it. Keith Thurman's fighting a guy moving up from 140 who got knocked out at 140 in his last fight. That's what he's been reduced to.
We don't know what the fuck's going to happen with Spence and Ugas.
Terence Crawford burning that bridge with Top Rank, it changes the situation. It changes things for him. It changes things for the PBC.
And the story is, his people have been talking to Eddie Hearn.
But Eddie Hearn can't help him. Eddie Hearn can't help him in that situation any more than Bob Arum could.
Which is why I always told you can't put Terence Crawford's situation on Bob Arum.
It's not accurate. That's not the truth. The truth is, if the PBC don't pick up Terence Crawford, I don't know what that guy's going to do. And finally, just in keeping with things Eddie Hearn mentioned, things Eddie Hearn said, Eddie Hearn has insisted that Dillian Whyte is going to take the Tyson Fury fight despite his silence following purse bids. This is the shot he's been waiting for. There's no conversations going. Shall we look in another direction? This is the fight.
People have been waiting for Eddie Hearn to chime in on this whole situation.
I guess they were expecting that Eddie Hearn might feel raw about it, that he might start
violently bawling and crying that he lost the purse bid.
They've been waiting for Eddie to provide some clarity. Further quotes from Eddie Hearn in reference to Ben Shalom. Ben Shalom, who said that he was communicating with Dillian Whyte throughout that entire fiasco, that entire situation. There's a lot of people getting involved, phoning up Dillian Whyte. It all comes around to it. Two bidders. All these other people, were they putting their money up? Because they ain't got no money. That's the difference.
Ben Shalom said he was communicating with Dillian throughout that situation.
He says Dillian trusts him and he trusts Dillian, that they have a good relationship, and he said that he was communicating with Dillian leading up to the purse bid, though what relevance...
Try to understand me. What's the point in saying that if you're not actually bidding for the fight?
Neither Boxer or Sky or anybody over there, if nobody over there put up any money to bring that fight over to their network, to their side of things, then what's the point in saying that he was in communications with Dillian when ultimately it was Eddie Hearn that was bidding on the fight? And because Eddie Hearn put in a bid for the fight, and they knew he was going to, that forced Frank Warren, that forced Bob Arum to beat him out in that purse bid, which resulted in Dillian Whyte getting more money.
If not for that, they would have sat on that $5 million against that 25%, and they wouldn't have budged.
But you let these guys tell it, and somehow this is a fucking act of charity from Frank Warren, because we all know how charitable Frank Warren is, right? Eddie Hearn on Team Whyte's silence I lost the purse bids. It's not my fight. I'm not here to hype the fight up. Yeah, for sure. Whyte will take the fight. I think there's a way to deal with Fury, and going on the quieter side is a decent tactic. Eddie Hearn seems to interpret Dillian Whyte's uncharacteristic silence as,
What, mental warfare?
being quiet as a church mouse didn't help Deontay Wilder's chances in that third fight. He tried to play it on the quieter side of things, not feed into Tyson Fury's trash talk, and in the end, playing it on the quieter side, it didn't help Deontay Wilder, though then again.
Why would it? He already got his ass kicked by that guy.
It is a different situation with Dillian Whyte. Dillian hasn't fought Tyson Fury yet. Deontay Wilder did. Thus, Deontay Wilder being as quiet as a church mouse didn't change anything for him, didn't help the situation. With Dillian, it's a different kettle of fish because this will be the first time that Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury meet in the pro ranks, under the hot lights, in a big fight, a very big fight in the United Kingdom.
Wilder was quiet because he didn't want to feed into Tyson Fury's trash talk, but Wilder was already mentally broken.
That's the difference. He already fought Tyson Fury 2 times, and he was gifted a draw. In the second fight, he got beaten from pillar to post, so him being quiet ahead of the third fight didn't change anything, didn't help the situation. With Dillian,
It's different because they haven't fought yet.
an act of defiance on the part of Dillian Whyte is one way to interpret this uncharacteristic silence from Dillian, who is never at a loss for words when it comes to his contemporaries, whether it's Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, or somebody else.
He's got nice things to say about everybody all the time.
But he has been uncharacteristically quiet throughout. We haven't seen a reaction from Dillian in reference to the purse bid and how that cookie crumbled. Could it be mental warfare? Could this be Dillian Whyte's way of psyching Tyson Fury out by not playing his game?